Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. I'm Fergus, I'm your host. I'm joined by Dale, Danish Gooner Alex, and very, very old, hungover Gooner Hilsey. We are going to look back over our European tour. We're going to look back over the Champions League, the fun days we had at the Emirates, and the excellent trips we had. Sometimes together, sometimes apart, but always with good friends over land and sea up the Arsenal.
Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, good evening, lads. You know what? I've struggled a little bit today, Trevor. I don't know about you, but I sat out in the sunshine all day yesterday, and my wife was away for half the day, and I partaked in a few beverages. How about you? You've moved rooms.
Yeah, I've changed rooms. I'm in a bigger room now. Yeah, it's at the back of the house. It gets the sun on it. It's about 30 degrees in here now, and I'm hungover, so I'm not happy about that. Yeah, I had a case of cider in the cupboard, and the missus had a case of Wicked in the cupboard, so we decided we'd drink the lot. So we did. That's it, done. And I was in a proper mess. Couldn't even talk when I went to bed last night. My missus reckons couldn't talk.
You couldn't talk to me about 5 o'clock. I don't really remember much of the conversation, but we had a conversation about 5 o'clock last night, and yeah, I'll tell you what, we're both, fluent in what I don't know, but we were fluent.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. It's just a good day. Just a good day to have a few beers yesterday, and I knew I'd pay the price this morning, but I didn't care less. Couldn't care less.
Dale, I was working at home, so I could just crawl out at 9, jump in the shower, and come here. But I sat at this desk. Oh, it's been a hard graft today. I tell you, I might as well have gone out digging holes for a living. It would have been easier. You're on mute, mate.
Dale's on mute. Dale's on mute.
The slightest bit of sunshine. That's what we do as Brits, right? We go out and have a few beers in the beer garden. I knew there'd been a few beers going around because Trevor put a message in the groups going, "I'm old. I'm this. I'm that. But I love you guys." You knew it'd been a heavy one.
Yeah, I meant it, especially when I remembered I'd sent it this morning.
Alex, you've been to Wuhan.
I have. I've been to Wuhan and I brought home the new home shirt. I know you don't like it too much, but I like the new top with the cannon on.
Yeah, I don't like any of the strips this year, but listen, it's good to have you back on. You haven't been on for a few weeks. Listen, before we go any further, as we all have seen on Twitter, Facebook, and just generally in social media, our good friend, a friend of ours off the show, Kevin Campbell, is not very well at the minute. So we just wanted to say from Guns and Yellow Ribbons, for myself personally, Trevor, I'm sure you'll have something to say as well. But we just wish him all the best. And I'm not going to speculate. We're just going to wish him all the best.
Yeah, just such a lovely man. The best ex-player engaging with football fans I know. He does it so well, and he's got time for everybody. So just get better, Kev. That's all we ask. Just get better, mate. Everybody loves you.
Alex, I'm aware that you're at work, so if you have to dip in and dip out, that's fine, but do what you need to do. Listen, we're going to look at the European tour, and it started off with
Kai
that's Andrew's fault. He sent a message in the WhatsApp group with the Kai Havertz song. Now Trevor is going to sing it incessantly the whole time. Group B, we were group. Trevor, shut up.
Kai Havertz scored again. Right, I'm stopping now.
Group B, Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, and Lens. Some great trips. Trevor, we had been to PSV previously. I personally hadn't been to Sevilla for football and ever, and also Lons. I've been to France and loads of parts of France when the kids were younger, but they were great trips. We started with a home fixture against PSV, and we'd met them previously in that trip where the infamous line was invented. You know that infamous line? That line. that was PSV.
That was that was when you were your pulling hand, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. Boys, what did we make of that first game? The opener at the Emirates, it was great to have the noise, the Champions League song, and there was the big roar. Dale, you'll remember it, the roar in the crowd that night for the first Champions League game, and just once they went, the champions, it's a long time coming. It was, what was it, 6 years since we were in the Champions League previously.
Yeah, I think that's a night a lot of Arsenal fans have been waiting for a long, long time. The buzz before the game was outstanding. The talk was outstanding. People getting excited about it. I've not seen excitement like that for a long time because it was the Champions League and we'd been absent for so long. I mean, I remember myself on the way to the ground. We bumped into a load of PSV fans, all dressed in black, giving it all large, and you just knew it was going to be one of them days. We just at the time it was just hope we were on the right side of that. But yeah, it was a fantastic day back in the Champions League.
Alex, I can't remember what your first Champions League visit was this season. Which one was it?
It was the
Sevilla, wasn't it?
Sevilla away game.
I'm talking about the Emirates. No,
that was Sevilla home.
Sorry, my Amazon device just kicked in and was talking a whole lot of rubbish.
It's not that one you got from Temu, is it? Where you pressed the buttons and you couldn't get it to work?
No, that's a different thing. That's gone. That's come back.
But yeah, I mean, I still remember the game. I watched it in the pub, and yeah, it was just brilliant being back. And then, of course, the game went exactly like we wanted it to, and Saka scored early on. And yeah, we just cruised through the game, and yeah, it really felt like we were back in Europa, and it set the tone for our coming campaign.
Trevor, some of the midweek games were difficult for you to do in London because of train strikes, etc., etc. You're more dedicated to the away games, mojitos, etc. Do encourage you to go to those?
We'll come to those. Look, right.
We will.
Before I talk about any specific games, you got the group we were drawn in. I was very happy with when it was made because, as Dale just said and you just said, Ferg, we haven't been in Europe in the Champions League for 6 or 7 years, and we're going in with a lot of players that hadn't experienced that level of football, and the atmospheres that you find at those big clubs away. So yeah, I was very happy with the draw. I can't remember if I went to Eindhoven at home or not. I might have done, I might not have done, but it was a great start, wasn't it? 4-0, comfortable, very happy with that, you know. And then we're looking forward to our first away game, aren't we, of the season in Europe. It was a lovely build-up to it, yeah.
Well, the first away trip in Europe was off to, I've lost the pictures. 1 second.
Lons.
It was off to Lons, and we took the Eurotunnel. I drove. You annoyed me, and yeah, we go.
I was so proud of myself. I annoyed him from the moment I got in the car to the moment I got out. I was so pleased with myself.
Yeah, you got a medal for that, mate. You got a medal for that. But here we are. Here's us leaving the Eurotunnel to join the French motorway system and head all the way up to over to Lons. About an hour trip. We bumped into Dan, who had gone out on recce and sussed out the bars the day before. He invented a new Magalhaes song out there. He put it on Twitter. He took it off Twitter, and I still got it somewhere, but I'm not going to show it tonight. But Magalhaes.
Was that there? Was that in Lons that he did?
That was.
It was.
Unbelievable.
He had 3 pints of beer the night he arrived in Lons, not realising that the beer was 9.3%, like sort of Belgian, sort of Flanders beer, and he was plastered. Let's talk about that game then, Trev. So beforehand, we met up with Dan and got parked up, and we had a lovely lunch in the pub, because I was trying to be very sensible and not do what Dan done the night before. Make sure we ate before we start drinking, and we had loads of drinks. And it was really nice around the town. In the sunshine, it was nice and warm, but like out of that sun, it was a bit chilly. We're outside the pub with all the singing Arsenal fans, and then we went back around the corner and were old men and sat down with some good friends and had a good chat, and we bumped into some Lons supporters, and the atmosphere was really, really nice before the game, wasn't it, Trevor?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Ferg, it was nice. And I mean, there isn't such a thing as a bad European away trip, but Lons is not. I'm not busting the gut to ever go back to Lons again ever again. As a matter of fact, you'd have to pay me to go back there. There was only 2 or 3 bars in the town, weren't there? You know, it was a tiny town. But you were there, as you just rightfully said, Ferg, you were there with mates, and that's what makes these European trips. And we did have a laugh. We had a proper good laugh when we got out of the car, got parked up. You were a bit worried about parking the car in the street. As a matter of fact, Fergus is that crap at parking. He buys cars that can park themselves.
I was going to say, I didn't park the car. I pressed the button, and this space was so tight you couldn't believe it, could you?
No, I'd have got in there, but I can understand you wouldn't, Ferg. But yeah, so it was all right. The town, it was all right. The place, that food was lovely. The beer was all right, but it just weren't my cup of tea, Ferg. Really, mate?
No. You know what the thing is, and I'm conscious, the lads, that some of you weren't there, and do pipe in and just interject where if you can see things from where you were on TV and the atmosphere and stuff. But before the game, we left. I think the game was kicking off at 9:00 local time, and we left that bar, which is about a half-hour walk to the stadium. We left at 7:30, Trevor, and we must have walked about 6 miles, and we walked and we walked and we walked, and they sent us down a blind alleyway. We asked so many people. What I found it was actually very rude of our hosts to not at least direct us to the area that we should have been at.
Well, yeah, we didn't have a clue, did we? We were in the company of some people that have been to many away games in Europe, and we were walking round and round the stadium and just could not find the entrance. It was looking back, it was hilarious. At the time, it was frustrating because you wanted to be in the ground, you know. And the policemen I'm sure they were having a laugh, sending us that way, nowhere near where we needed to be. But anyway, we got in there in the end, and I got the shock of my life when we got in the stadium, because I think that stadium was actually bigger than the town of Lons, wasn't it?
I think that it could hold the whole population of the town. I think it was 31 or 38,000, and that was about the population of the town. They hadn't been in the Champions League for 20 years. The last time they'd been in the Champions League was against Arsenal, and the atmosphere beforehand was electric. The only reason we got in time was down to my schoolboy French. I went up and spoke to a guy in a bit of pidgin English, pidgin French, and we got through where all the camera vans were and everything else that brought us through. But yeah, the build up beforehand, Trev, it was just unreal. Like rather than having at the end their capos, they had the whole long side of one pitch, and they had this tifo. It was outstanding, and the noise, Trevor, was huge. You mentioned the inexperience of our team, and you know, they hadn't, any of these have been in this level of football for forever. Well, 6 years. And that really did come across, didn't it? They looked a bit rabbit in headlights.
Yeah. Have you seen that message there, Fergus?
Oh, I'll have to have a look. Okay.
Yeah. All right, then. Yeah. I think my view is that we got found out with our inexperience in the side of that level of football and that kind of atmosphere, because it was manic. The atmosphere was just amazing, and of course we take the lead, and you're thinking, right, this needs to quieten the crowd down a bit, and it had the opposite effect. It lifted the crowd even more, and they were crazy. And as the crowd got louder, we seemed to play less and less, you know. And we sat back, and we ended up getting beaten 2-1, but you could see our players from where I was, you could see our players sort of shrinking into their shell a little bit as that atmosphere took over. It was huge.
Just checking YouTube. YouTube is still live, so I don't know who's mentioned that they was screwed, but it is still working.
I think it's just you can't see the like button, but you can still click it. It still works. You just can't see it. I think that's the only problem.
Okay. Thanks for that, Kev. Anyway,
thank you, mate. Alex, watching the game on TV from Copenhagen, how did it come across to you? How do you think we performed? We scored early, and then, if I remember correctly, was it Raya's first game in goal for us, wasn't it?
It was definitely one of his first. It might have been his very first, and obviously he didn't have the best of games. I can't remember if it was the first or the second goal, which was a big mistake of his. But I feel like the Longs game was the first sort of wake-up call to Europe just being very different to the Premier League, and just a sign of what things were to come, especially later when we met Porto and Seville as well. Just the difference in how they play the teams in Europe and how intense they are, the games. And you mentioned about the fans as well. Totally different atmosphere to most of the teams in the Premier League. And yeah, it was our first loss of the season as well in all competitions. So tough game at Longs. Jesus had a good game, and I feel like Jesus, we've forgotten a bit about him because he didn't play much in the end of the season, but he was so good in the European games this season. And I don't know if he ended up being a top scorer or if it was Saka, but he scored a lot of important goals and played well in Seville, which we'll talk about later as well. But he had a good game and scored. But yeah, it was a bit of a wake-up call and a tough game, first defeat of the season.
Dale, what did you make of the Lons game? And just like, I know we'll talk about the games that you managed to get to in Europe, but like the difference in atmosphere, it's a completely different, it's a different animal, European football, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a big learning curve for a lot of the players, because I remember the game quite well. We actually dominated possession, but we sat back too much, and we allowed them to kind of get back into the game, and ultimately we ended up paying the price. But I think it was just an experience. We had a lot of players who had never played on that stage before, never been in an atmosphere like that before. I mean, you could point to North London derbies, etc., but it's not quite the same, is it, away in Europe? So I think that was I mean, it was a result that probably needed to happen, and sooner rather than later, because I think they, as a squad and as a team, they took a lot out of it. And I think Arteta did as well as a manager, because some of the mistakes we saw in that game we didn't see repeated throughout the competition.
Yeah. Trevor, following that game, we were held back for, I think it was 80, 90 minutes, first of all in the stadium, then in a car park. I met Billy Arneson and his daughter for the first time, and we had a great old chat. And we as much as it was awful to be held back for that and the lack of communication as well, it was good just to chat to people afterwards and just like relax before we went back to our hotels. You're on mute.
I can think of nothing I'd rather do than spend 80 minutes in a muddy car park on a freezing cold night. Yeah, fair. I wish they'd do it every game, to be honest.
I was trying to be positive.
When that game was over, the police escorted you boys, and you boys have a different story to tell. But I was stopping in an Airbnb the other end of town, so I broke out of the convoy, and I had where I wanted to be on my phone. I'm following it, and I went down all these back streets. It was pitch black. Didn't see another person. Didn't have a clue if I was going the right way. And I'll tell you what, if I'd have met up with the wrong people down there, you'd have never seen me again and never ever known about it. It was dark and it was cold and it was like dimly lit, the place you're thinking, oh my God, I'm in trouble here. But anyway, I got back to the Airbnb all right, and the French bloke that owned the Airbnb was a Lons fan, so he took great pleasure in laughing at me, but he gave me a couple of bottles of beer, so that was all right. Yeah. So all in all, yeah, it was all right. I can't get too enthused about going to Lons.
Myself and Dan walked back around. It took us a long route again around the whole stadium, and it felt like we were walking forever. And all of a sudden, we got to the edge, that corner where we asked for directions in the first place. We bumped into RoboCops, and we just looked and went, "Oh Christ, here we go! All the riot shields, they've all the gear on them. The battens are out." And we're going, "Right, okay, shut your mouth, say nothing, because if not, if they don't like you, they're going to hit you." They walked us halfway down into the town, and then they went, "Yeah, go that way." And they just pointed me, Dan, and there was a lady with us up towards where our hotel was. And there was fists, chairs, legs, everything flying. It was fortunate enough, myself, Dan, and the lady who was with us didn't come unstuck, but a few guys did who I know personally, and they're not ones to get involved in that sort of stuff. It was totally unprovoked, uncalled for, but very drunk Lons fans who had an hour and a half in the pub to celebrate their victory, made sure they gave us a greeting party. And we, again, had to go down some back alleys, and it wasn't very comfortable. Trevor, the one thing that was really nice is the next day we drove back, and we had plenty of time to get onto the Eurotunnel. And we took a moment just to go, you hadn't been in this region, I know it quite well, and we went along the Normandy beaches, didn't we?
We held hands, drunk wine. I bought my missus chocolates. Fergus bought his missus nothing.
Nothing.
So yeah, it was a lovely trip back. As Fergus said, I'd never been to that part of the world before, and it was very interesting to say the very least. But I learned something else about Fergus, whether it's his Irish heritage or just the person he is. He's a Chancellor, is our Fergus. He's a Chancellor. So we get back to the Channel Tunnel terminal, right? And you get, I can't remember what exact colour they were, but you get these things to hang on your mirror to show.
We had a 2-hour wait.
Yeah, so we've got like a red flag, and we pull up to where we're going to be, and our train's hour and a half away, 2 hours away. And all these people with a green flag in their car just get the green light to go on the train that's going in 10 minutes. And so they've all gone, and we're just sitting here on our own in the car. And Fergus just says, "Right, keep your head down and don't make eye contact with any." And he just followed these cars onto this train that we shouldn't have been on, drove straight past these blokes that were oblivious, just waving us on. And we ended up getting back 2 hours early. How he pulled it off, I do not know. But yeah, he was saying, Don't make eye contact with them. Do not make eye contact with them. Did you look at them then? Did you look at them? No.
3 weeks later, we headed out to Seville. Alex, you joined me and Dan on this one, but we didn't go directly to Seville. We went to Madrid, and we had a great old time in Madrid.
Did we?
And yeah,
we
did.
I can't remember.
We did. Well, we'll talk about Alex. Let me line some stuff up, but you talk about the trip, because I think that was one of your first European away days, especially with us lot. Anyway,
yeah, it was the first one with you guys, and I think me and Dan landed the day before you and Trev. So we did some sightseeing the day before, and then the day you arrived, me and Dan, we had some tapas, and he'll probably say that he drank a bit more beer than I did, and I was falling behind, and I probably was. And then we met up with you guys in the Irish bar in Madrid, and that's where Mojito Trev started, and that's where.
Well, you have to recall as well, we also done a podcast from the hotel restaurant, that was I was fine. I was trying to host it, and you three just kept on chucking shit at me the whole time. It was just
yeah, Alex, you were bang out of order, Alex.
If I remember rightly as well, Alex, you were quite drunk as well, if I remember it.
Oh, Alex was wasted, absolutely wasted.
Yeah,
so listen.
We'd had too many pints.
Let's have a look at where Mojito Trev was created.
Number 7 is Liam Brady. Number 8, Perry Groves. Number 9, Perry Groves. Number 10, Perry Groves. Number 11.
Trevor, I don't know what those people must have thought who had gone in for a quiet beer, and then they saw this.
It was a fairly quiet bar. And as the mojitos came, it got louder and louder, didn't it?
Those poor people in that pub. Yeah. Well, we weren't out of order. We were just having a good time. and spending an absolute fortune on like 24 mojitos. So yeah.
So, Del, you have seen and you've been party to some of the photographs and the conversations about this, and I think on voice and FaceTime and everything else. But the picture that sums up Madrid and Madrid to Seville for me, not only is it that, but we've seen enough of his tats now. He gets them out all over telly and everything nowadays. He's even got journalists come up and photographing his tats and writing stories about him. But for me, for me, it's this one. Trevor is hanging out of his arse on the train.
I was just tired. I was having a snooze. You three were so boring on that train, I thought I'm going to have a sleep. And that was all it was. I had a little snooze.
How bad did you feel, Trev? How bad did you feel?
I was tired, mate. I was tired. I didn't have a headache.
Yeah.
At my age, I get tired.
Yeah.
You're not a very good liar, mate. You're not a very good liar.
I was tired. And I drank them three under the table. Yeah. They had about 2 mojitos each. And I dread to think how many I had. Very good train journey, though. Very efficient.
It was very efficient. For me, actually, that was actually, you've been a train man, you'd love it. But for me, I actually liked doing the train journey. But getting into Seville, getting McDonald's, and I think you gave some down and out €5 to buy a burger or something like that, which was really nice of you. But what a lovely city it was. You know, there was some beautiful orange and all these trees along the side that you see on here. This is the main street in the old town, which leads down to the cathedral. They were full of lemons and oranges and everything else, which it was just stunning, a stunning place to go to. Trevor, had you been to Seville before?
No, I hadn't been to Seville before, and I was after the visit to Lons. I found Seville very welcoming. It's a stunningly beautiful city, well worth a visit if anyone ever thinking of going, taking their missus there. Take her. It's a great place to visit, and all the bars and the restaurants were fantastic. Apart from the stadium had no roof, right?
Rain.
Some parts had.
We were all right. I was dry.
We were fine.
See, it had been sunny all day, right? So I've got shorts and a t-shirt on. And we get in the stadium, them boys are down the lower tier. I'm on the upper tier. There's no roof on it. And as that referee blowing his whistle was like signaling someone to turn the tap on. He went... Start the game and it went whoosh. Down it came, right? And I was wet through to the skin. Felt much better because we went into a nice lead. But then obviously Seville scored and we had a bit of a nail-biting last portion of the game, which wasn't very pleasant. But it didn't ruin a great trip. It really didn't ruin a great trip to Seville.
Yeah, no, it was really nice. Actually, and it wasn't
Thanks,
I think Madrid, we had done the if you clap your hands on the lower there, yeah. Madrid was the piss up. Seville wasn't so bad, was it, Alex? Because we got to the main square where Lyle and some of the others were, and they were queuing 10, 12 deep to try and get a beer, and we just decided to have a bit of sangria, a bit of tapas. You know, it was quite civilized, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, and as you said, we probably had a bit too much the day before, so we indulged in the cultural experiences in Seville and sat in a nice little narrow street and had some tapas, which was really, really good. And and then you remember more of the game as well, and you actually see what's going on during the game, because sometimes you're so drunk during the games you can't really remember what happened. But luckily it was a good game as well. And again, Jesus played a brilliant game. And also before the game, Jose Antonio, I don't know if you've got that video, but his name is chanted, which was a beautiful touch. Obviously, he played for Seville as well.
He came from Seville. His dad had tapas restaurant just around the corner from where we were staying, and that was really well received and respected by the home fans. They really did think highly of us. That did stand out to me, and the other thing that stood out to me, Dale, was Declan Rice. It was the first time I saw Declan Rice play in the flesh properly, and as Alex said, we're reasonably sober because there's alcohol-free beer in the stadium and everything else. So I watched him. It's the first time a grown man has made me moan and groan. I was like, oh, so many times. He was just unreal. He was unreal.
Yeah, I've got a question though, more important than that. Did you actually eat your own tapas on that occasion, or did you have some of Alex's and steal Trev's this time?
Well, what goes on in Porto stays in Porto, okay?
We'll that later on, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the first games where people actually realised just how good Declan Rice was. Because people always said, "Oh, he was just a big fish in a small pond at West Ham, and could he replicate at Arsenal? Could he take it to the next level, the European stage, etc., etc." But I think he proved in that game. Now he did. He did exactly what we thought he could do, and he just got bigger and bigger and stronger ever since.
Trevor, when you you didn't really dry out, did you? When you squelched down the stairs and met us outside the stadium, and we walked past those streets, and there was puddles of water everywhere. How did you feel after that 2-1 victory? It was important we got that victory, didn't we? Because especially losing to Lons, only our last away game.
Yeah, it was a very important victory, Fergus, because we didn't want to lose 2 away. There goes me light again. We didn't want to lose 2 away games in a row in that group, because that really puts the pressure on you. So yeah, we strolled into a 2-0 lead, didn't we? And then they scored, and it was the last bit of the game wasn't very enjoyable because they did put a bit of pressure on us. But you can't move away from the highlight for me was the singing of Jose Antonio Reyes, his name, and the Seville fans clapping the Arsenal fans. It doesn't happen very often at football in this modern day and age, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see a bit of appreciation. Yeah, all in all, a great trip, a great trip. Enjoyed every minute of it. Beautiful city. I want to go back.
I'm just looking to line up the next video in a minute. So then,
hang on. So with 2 away trips in now, I'm racking my brain. I still can't remember Fergus buying a beer. It must come at the 3rd game away that he buys.
You know why that? You know why that is because you get drunk very, very quickly, and then you never buy a beer afterwards, and it's down to me and others to prop you up while you stand there going,
"Here we go.
He got his tats out."
Here we go. Thank you, James.
Ferg did buy quite a lot of beers, to be honest, in Seville.
And if I remember if I remember correctly, I think I also paid for the tapas, Trevor. So there we go.
I
don't think we can say too much about that.
You always get paid back, Fergus. Always.
Absolutely, indeed. Listen, the 4th game we had was back to back with Seville. We hosted Seville back at the Emirates. Dale, you couldn't go to this game, but you made sure your seats got a good home. But you managed to watch the game because I think it was.
I was in New York for that one. I was in New York for that one. Yeah, I was in New York for that one. So I made sure my tickets were well looked after. So Alex took care of those for me.
You went to the Gooners bar in New York.
yeah, I did. Yeah, and I was really looking forward to it. Truth be told, and the landlord was fine, but some of the clientele in there were questionable to say the least. It was like they just opened. They were still in there from the night before. They were hitting each other with pool cues. So at that point there, I was with a family. I just said, it's time to kind of go to a different bar. So we found another one more central in Manhattan. But truth be told, it was a decent bar. There's lots of singing going on, lots of chanting, and by the end of the game, lots of celebrating as well. So and another cracking result to boot. I mean, let's not forget, right? We keep saying about these away games and these home games. Spanish teams are notoriously hard to beat in European football. So to do the double over Sevilla in the space of a few weeks was quite an impressive feat, if you ask me.
It was. And look, you just have to look at Real Madrid. They've won the 15th Champions League title in their history, and that's partly down to the way the Spanish league protect and ensure that their teams they've got less bigger games than you would have in the Premier League, and the same with the Germans and the Italians. There's less bigger sides. Not trying to be disrespectful, but also the things that their equivalent of the FA do for them. If they're playing on a Wednesday, they'll play on a Friday.
Move the games and help them out.
They'll move the games around and they'll try and change the fixture so that it's less likely they get injured, so they have more success. But to beat a Spanish side, partly for that reason, but also they're very, very good at European football, and they seem to thrive on European football. The European teams do, where we have such a heavy schedule with the League Cup, but with the FA Cup around that sort of period of time, and then you've got the Champions League and the League Cup. Sorry, the League Cup at that time. Champions League comes in after. FA Cup comes in after Christmas. It's just quite a grueling schedule. Your seat was filled by a Danish Viking. You came over for the game. You're on mute, by the way, mate.
Yeah.
You came over for the game, and it was a 2-0 win to Sevilla. How good was that night?
Oh, it was brilliant. Again, thank you to Dale, who helped me out with the tickets, and it was quite a special night because I mentioned it on the last podcast as well, but it was my granddad's 80th birthday on the night of the game. So we went out for dinner before the game and had a nice evening, and watched the game. And I don't think he hasn't watched any Champions League games for ages at the Emirates or the Highbury. So that was his first Champions League game in a while. So that was very special taking him for that game.
I was quite disappointed, though, that he didn't end up on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah, that would have been brilliant. Sam. Disappointed, Sam.
Yeah, next time we'll have to make sure of that.
Yeah, next time.
But challenge accepted.
Yeah. No, he really enjoyed it, and we just dipped out 5 minutes early. Luckily, we didn't miss any goals, but we had to catch the train back to Seaford down near Brighton. So I now get why some people leave a bit earlier because they really have to, because we had to catch the last train back. But yeah, it was like Dale said, it was a tricky game again. Seville and the Spanish teams in general, they're just so good at these European game, and they're very structured, and they don't really give anything to you easily. But luckily, we've got some brilliant players. Trossard scored, and I think that was
Trossard again.
Ole. And then Saka scored the second in the second half and finished off the game. And we managed to keep a clean sheet. I think that sealed the first place for us, didn't it?
No, it didn't. It was the following game.
That was the following game against
Lons.
But it made it look very likely that we were going to get the first place in the group. So, I think we were a bit lucky with our group. It wasn't the most difficult group, but we still had to do things and get that first place as well. So, yeah, a good game.
Trevor, then we hosted Lons. We were hoping to send them all the way around King's Cross, up the Cali, and a few other places, down Chapel Market and maybe Arthur's Calf before they could even get into the stadium. But it was a 6-0 drubbing of Lons, and that ensured that we did finish top. We had qualified, obviously, against Sevilla, but that made sure that we did become group winners. A convincing win. And it meant that trip to Eindhoven became quite easy for some people to get tickets. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it is. I can't move on from that Lons game without... I don't think we need to see the video again. It was horrible. But the Lons fans at the Emirates just sort of reminded me how we need to possibly revise the way we treat European visiting fans and maybe take it to a level that they do when we go over there, with the netting around and the closed off sections and being kept in the ground after the game, because it wasn't pleasant what went on with the Lons fans. But at the game itself, the difference in class between the sides showed. It was massive. It was massive, and it just showed for me what a great leveler having a big home atmosphere is when it comes to football, you see. So, it was a comfortable win against a side that we would beat 999 times out of 1,000, I reckon. Yeah.
6 different goal scorers as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Who put the ball in the Lon's net? Eh? Yeah.
Half that team did.
And then we go back to Eindhoven, don't we? And as you say, Fergus, it's a nothing game. Me and Dal travel out there, meet out there. I like Eindhoven, but I don't like going to the same places 2 years in a row, you know. But I wasn't going to miss it. We still had a great time. Got the square going in Eindhoven and went in our favourite little bar in the corner of the ground that takes you up pitch side, which is nice, especially if you've got people like Dal with you who've never been there before. So it was nice to take him in and show him around there. And then we went in the square and got drunk and... yeah, that was it. We drew, didn't we? 1-1 away.
Yeah, it's a one-all game.
Or did we?
Yeah, we drew 1-1, but I didn't. I mean, that was my first game, so firstly, a massive thanks to Trev and the boys for sorting it out. But I didn't remember. So at half time, I didn't know the score. We came down, and I was like, I don't remember watching the game. All I've got is a photo behind the netting. That's all I remembered from it. So I was actually really.
Do you recall the bar in there? It's like an ice skating ring with all the beer swilling around. You walk over that steep bridge.
I do, but for all the wrong reasons. There was just a few idiots in the concourse there, and it kind of it spoiled it a little bit. But we still made the most of it, and we went from the game. And after the game, it was absolutely torrential. If you remember, Trev, do you remember? It was chucking it down with rain, and we made our way to that Irish bar again, and everyone was just stopping wet in there.
I can't remember. Can't remember after the game. Can't remember.
That's why I'm glad I got a second crack at European games, because I don't remember much about the first.
It is true, though, Del, what you say. There are a few idiots around, and, you know, just if there are people on here and you do go away, I know everyone has a beer and has a laugh and everything else, but we are together. We are a fan base together. Don't be arguing and winding each other up and fight with each other. Well, not fighting, but, you know, like, altercations with each other. Just like, you know, be together. If you don't like the guy beside you and you think he's an idiot, most people think that about me, just go and talk to somebody else.
Took the words out of my mouth, then you did, Fergus.
That's what you did in Munich, wasn't it, Trev?
Took the words out of my mouth, you did. You don't see many falling outs between Arsenal fans at away games, in fairness. You don't see many at all. You're always going to have the odd one or two that are gonna take it on and play up a bit. But we're through, weren't we? We were through. Mm. And you know what? The one thing I missed about the Europa League was that you go through a group and we've not had a really interesting trip. We've not had a trip into the Arctic Circle or a trip into a war zone in Eastern Europe, you know, or into a communist state where if you cough, you're going to get locked up. We didn't have. You don't get them teams in the Champions League, and yeah,
Trevor, you start to sound like Uncle Albert. Do you know what? Do you know what?
When did I say during the war?
Navy.
When did I say during the war?
No, I haven't gone to some communist state, a war torn under martial law. You have to reel that one out. You're just like Uncle Albert.
You've lost me completely, but then that's not hard to do, to be honest. I just like trips further afield where nobody's going to be going ever again, you know, Bodo or wherever, you know, and you don't get in the Champions League. You have to put up with commoners like Fergus joining you on the trips, which is a bit of does me head in a bit, but never mind. We can survive that.
So we get through Christmas. We have a few difficult games. West Ham beat us. We drew, which I was glad of, on Merseyside against Liverpool. We lost to Fulham, and then we started that winning streak in the league. And in February 21st, we go away to Porto. Now, for me, hopefully I've got it. If not, you guys will talk. I will get the song up, but this we because they're really expensive, these trips, and I know some of you guys who are watching will have done away trips and you know how it works, but when you're doing it, we're not millionaires. You don't just fly into Porto, stay in a boujou hotel, and then, you know, have 5-star accommodation. You try and do it as cheap as you possibly can. We flew into Vigo, Celta Vigo's home airport was a tiny little airport, and hired a car, and I drove.
You're a very angry driver, by the way. You are a very angry driver. Every time Trev wound you up, me and Dan were in the back just giggling like a pair of kids, and you were just having a go at us. So I was like, hang on a minute, and Trev's getting away scot-free in the front.
See, what you often find, Dale, if someone's a bad driver, they often use anger to try and cover their inability to drive properly. You know, so yeah, he got angry, but we were just I had my eyes shut at one time, and Dan said to me, "Trev, you got your eyes shut? Are you asleep?" I said, "No, I'm not asleep. I'm fucking praying." That was how good Fergus' driving was.
Alex, you've been in my car many a time picking you up from Stansted.
Yep.
I think you can vouch that these guys are talking as a technical word. It's called bollocks.
Yeah, you're definitely the calmest driver I've ever been in a car with.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So when you're driving the car, it was
got to stay in the good books with him.
It was an awful Citroen car that we got upgraded into and everything else. And
if that was the upgrade, what did you book?
I booked a Polo or something like that, just the cheapest car going, mate. And I had to pay for the upgrade as well because our car wasn't ready because we got in earlier. And long story, but I got Trevor doing this in my ear the whole way along and gone, oh, what's this button do? What's that button do? What's this button do? I had you, Dale, going, can we stick this on a playlist? And I'm going, I don't really like music. Can we just get there? It's an hour. Just like, do you really need to listen to something on the radio?
And at that point there, when Fergus his blood pressures up here, he's bright red in the face, Dan goes, I think you need the other lane, mate. Sends him over the edge.
Let's have a look at this.
He's out.
It might look at that angry.
Whatever the weather, these streets are our own, and my heart will leave you never. My blood will forever run through the storm.
Trevor, it wouldn't be.
How about you, Gunners?
It wouldn't be an away trip without us doing a recording of us in a car singing Northumberland Forever, would it?
Do you know what? I wish I'd have got a film of the Speedo there because we're in the outside lane and he never went over 20 kilometres an hour all the way there. The traffic, there's nothing in front of us because everything had gone and it's queued up behind us because they couldn't get past us. You're like, ride.
If you'd like to listen to this crap every week, click on YouTube, click subscribe, and you'll hear Trevor lie like that every week.
Oh, here we go. Look, here we go. Dale,
them six hit the nail on the head there. So we'll pull that comment up.
It was
you're like a married couple.
It was by the way, it turned out to be the cheapest
I want a divorce.
I've ever been on, to be honest.
Oh yeah, we got a refund, didn't we?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, so it was all right. Well, once you get Porto, it was all right in one
Carry
piece.
on talking. I'm going to look for that video.
And I changed my pants.
Whilst Fergus looking for that video, I mean, it was for those who haven't been to Porto. There's a couple of bars down by like the river. There's a big old bridge with a river down there, and all the Arsenal boys congregate down there. And I think it's kind of become known as the birthplace of the Gabrielle song. I mean, Trev, you were there. What was it like? It was absolutely electric.
Yeah, it was. The night before the game was really good down that front in Porto, as is always the case with Arsenal fans. Loads and loads and loads of Arsenal fans there. No trouble that I know of, and just drinking beer and keeping landlords happy, seeing all the money going behind their bars and singing songs. It was a great night. Yeah, it was a really, really good night for that night in Porto, the first night.
I know you will. So, boys, that song was born on the train back from Burnley the weekend before. We'd beaten Burnley, I think it was a 5-0. And then on the Tuesday, we all piled out into Porto, and this is down by the river. And the old boys table, which is me, Trevor, there's Billy Arneson, there's
Lyle's there,
Lyle, there's, all the Ashburton Army are doing what they're doing, and it's going up and down, and it's going. And we sat there, we've done some of the old songs, and then we started this. How long did this go on for, Trevor?
Well, I don't know. It's longer than I care to remember, mate. It went on for ages and ages and ages. It was a new song, and it was getting out there, wasn't it? And as it was going on, it was gradually spreading. There was more and more people singing it. It was a great night. It was a great night. Really a good build up to the following day.
Well, I was going to say one thing you don't. Go on, Dale.
I was going to say, I'll tell you one thing you don't get from the video, right? The video brings back great memories, but it doesn't show you just how loud it was. It was deafening when you were there, and it was deafening for 20, 25, 30 minutes.
I think it was 17 and a half minutes that particular song went on. No, Be Jesus Said Paddy went on for 17 minutes. This went on for 24, 25 minutes. Yeah. Around and around and around. And it was down to Dan and Lyle just going again. My voice was ruined after that. But myself and Trevor were reasonably sensible. We went back to the hotel 9-ish, knowing just that the day was going to be a big day the next day. And we want to go out and see the stadium and stuff like that. But Dan and Lyle and so on, they went into bar to bar to bar, and this song just went everywhere. Dale, did you stay out late with them, or did you depart earlier? I can't remember.
No, we went back. If I remember rightly, was that the night we went back and they had Louis Dunford in the hotel.
Oh, they played it on the screen. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. We was in reception in the hotel, and Louis Dunford, the angel, came on the screen. And it was just, me and Fergus just sat there. We went to the supermarket, and we probably bought 4 or 5 cans of lager each, and just sat in the hotel reception drinking. And it was a really good night, actually, considering we were in a hotel.
Yeah, there was no bar or anything like that. Trevor, Hills, not you.
Oh,
the Hills in Porto.
Hillsy.
Yeah. It was
Hillsy's Hills.
It's the only thing with Porto is it's savage. It's not a place you want to be walking around for hours. And on the day of the game, I should have put my foot down really and said to Fergus, look, no, we are not walking down that hill because we're going to have to walk up again. But we didn't. We walked down the hill, day of the game. We're down there about 10 minutes and everyone was leaving to walk back up the hill again. So Fergus proper spat his dummy out that time. Proper foul.
I actually did. I did.
It was hilarious. I didn't even have to prod him too hard, and he was off. And he even went back into the strongest Irish accent. I couldn't make out a word of what he was saying, to be honest. But it was hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
We'd been out to dinner with everybody, and it was really nice with that Francesca, the sandwich with the egg and the cheese and in the tomato soup. It sounds awful, but it's beautiful. We had that and some tapas and bits and pieces, and then we decided. Well, some of the guys were going down, and me and Trevor decided to stay in the area we originally planned to stay in. But then, because they all wanted to go down to the river, because some different people come in different day, and they all want to get the same experience. So we ended up getting an Uber down to the river, but there was roadworks, and it took us 45 minutes, Trev. We got out of the Uber in the end.
Yeah, I don't know how long, but it was a long time.
And by the time we got to the guys by the river,
we said we're off.
We're off. So we're off this fucking hill after you two. And I was not happy. But talk to me about that train journey, Trevor. We all queued up to try and get tickets. We couldn't. Yeah, I was, James. I was. We tried to get some tickets for the tube. Couldn't bother. Everyone said just jib it. And we went onto the tube and hit the platform. I will again try and look for a video if I can find it. I might have to send it. Might have to send it to myself again. Alex, can you send me the Porto Railway platform one? Did you send me your one earlier?
No, I wasn't there, so I haven't got the video.
Okay, I might have it. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah. Trevor, talk to me. It's only because if it goes in there, I don't have to re-edit it and stuff like that. Talk to me about that. It's again the same song, "You'll Fall in Love," on that platform. And the look of the people on that train as they saw 1,000, 2,000 Arsenal just walk to the doors and just go, "You fall in love."
It was sort of strange, wasn't it? Because 1,000 or 2,000 Arsenal fans didn't all flock down there together. I think it was just a massive coincidence that lots of small groups of Arsenal fans all seemed to be on that station at the same time when that train came in. And it got a bit boisterous. It was good fun. I don't know what the people on the train were thinking or doing. I was too busy enjoying myself to worry about anyone else. But it was a cracking train journey. And James, who's in the chat there, it was his first European away game, and it was quite an introduction. It was a cracking journey to the stadium on that train. And as James says there, it's an absolute wall of sound. Yeah, absolute wall of sound. Brilliant.
Dale, talk to us about it then. So I have got the videos coming up. So on that platform, and Alex, I'm conscious, one, you're at work, and two, you weren't there. So
no, it's fine. You just keep talking.
Yeah. Talk to us about this platform. It's just
it was. I've just sent you two. Yeah, I've just sent you a couple. Actually, there might be another one on its way. But obviously, my first home game this season was Eindhoven, and Eindhoven, I loved it. And Trev said, I remember Trev saying to me, "This is nothing. This is quite subdued. This is quite quiet." And this, for me, sums up Porto. This, again, the sound is kind of muted somewhat on the video, but this went on for ages and ages and ages. And even when the train pulled up, there was people on there like cup a meal. There was people on there with their kids, and it wasn't rude. It was polite. We were all polite. We were all singing, and the Portuguese people were happy to see us being happy, not causing trouble. But unreal, unbelievable.
I've just got your other video. The one that has the train pulls in now. Alex, in a second, I'll show you this. Hang on. Oh, jeez, I'm getting all confused. I'm getting all overexcited because I'm thinking of what a good time it was. Just give me a second. Alex, you can talk to us about this. And also, because you saw the square in Seville the way it is, and you've been to seen how Block 5 has developed and stuff over the years, last couple of years, the noise as well. But look at these people as working on the train. Look at their faces.
Yeah, they look slightly worried and and enjoying it as well. But yeah, it's just the thing about the away game. It sort of cuts out all the people who don't really contribute to the atmosphere, and we've just got a couple of thousand of people who love to create an atmosphere and get songs going. So that's one of the special things about the European games. You've just got all the fans that want to create an atmosphere and want to get it loud and want to sing a song and have a beer. So yeah, I mean, it's special. For anyone who haven't been to any of the European away games, try and prioritize it next season. It's special, and it's very different to any of the other games, even the Premier League away games as well.
No, don't. You shouldn't go. It's dreadful. Just stay away.
Horrible.
Trevor, European aways and European football is very, very different, and we got a huge education in Porto. Porto played the dark arts. There was 36 fouls apparently in the game. Declan Rice got a yellow card in the third or fourth minute, which nullified him a lot in the game. And they left it right till I think it was the 96th minute or something like that, and they got a 1-0 win. But if we'd got out of there with a draw, it would have been a great result, and we all would have admitted that. But to be honest, the 1-0 win to Porto, the way they played the dark arts, is probably deserved, do you think?
Yeah, well, I can remember having this conversation with you boys at the time, in that Porto didn't do anything wrong. They played the way they play, and they played the way the referee allowed them to play. They knew they were up against a really good side in Porto, and that's what happens in Europe in the Champions League. You get these games where you come up against these sides that won't let you play, right? They won't let you play, so you have to find a way of beating them. And we weren't found wanting. I thought we played really well in Porto. We were a bit naive with some of our tackling at the start, but I think we grew into it and got better. And I think we were cruising towards a 0-0, which, when you think of the way Porto were playing, would have been a very good result indeed. But then, of course, they get that winner in the 90 odd minute, and honestly, you'd have thought they'd have won the whole competition. They knew how important that goal was. Because they know that Porto fans know the way their team plays. They know a 1-0 lead is a very good lead for them to have. And when they scored that late winner, boy, the roof come off that stadium. They'd done a lap of honour afterwards. You'd have thought they'd have won the Champions League. They knew the importance of that goal and how difficult it was going to be for us when we took them back to the Emirates, which proved to be the case, didn't it?
It was difficult.
It did. Go on, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were a bit naive in that game, in the away game. And I think 0-0 would have been a perfectly good result for us to go home to the Emirates. But we I think it was Martinelli who played a dangerous pass in the final minute of the game, and that led to the chance of which they scored that 1-0 goal. So hopefully lesson learned, but made it more difficult for us in the return leg, with them being a goal up, and they really just sat back in a very low block and used all the dark arts, which their master, their annoying coach had learned them. He was a proper, I'm not going to say it on live stream here, but he was
Viking.
Yeah, he was a Viking, their coach. The comments he made afterwards of things Arteta had said to him during the game and stuff like that he was just such a sore loser, and apparently he's done it many times before. So yeah, I'm really, really glad we beat them at home, even though it was a grueling game, and I hate penalties. But when you win a game on penalties, it's the best feeling ever. But whilst you're in it and whilst you're watching the penalty shootout, it's just horrible.
I'm conscious that we're running over the hour that we said, but Dale, you wanted to finish off on before we go into the home
I was going to say that it's the one game, the Porto away was in fact, am I right in thinking that's the one where the referee looked like Trossard, or was that the home game?
That was the home game.
It was home game, but the away game, the ref was poor. But one of the things that I can probably say it's the only time this season, one of our strengths has been all season set pieces, but our corner delivery in that game was poor. Saka and Declan could not beat the first post every single time.
That was down to tactics by them, because they allowed people to stand on their own feet and then they'd fall over, so break up the play. It was very Big Sam. It was like very it was Sam Allardyce.
It was. I mean, but that's what I mean. The corners, our delivery of corners still let us down. But every time we did get a good win in there, they kind of went down like they'd been shot. But I mean, that was the one game I could say this season where our set pieces possibly we could have done a bit more with, because we had probably, if I remember rightly, there were quite a few 20, 21 corners, and the majority didn't beat the first post.
Trevor, we took him back to the Emirates, and it was a 1-0 at the Emirates, and it went to penalties. My grandson came with me, and it was one of his first Champions League games, and what a game to come to. I had to be up at 3 a.m. in the morning because it was my daughter's 30th birthday, and she lives out in Dresden, so we were traveling out to see her and surprise her for her birthday the next day. It went to extra time, and I just knew, typically because I wanted to get home, get to bed and get some sleep, I knew it would go all the way to penalties. David Raya made an amazing save for us to win 4-2 on penalties, and what a night it was in North London.
I don't know, I didn't go.
You saw it on telly.
Oh, yeah, you didn't, yeah.
Yeah, it was once again, the whole two games of that round were what I've been used to in years and years gone by of European football. Very tight, very cagey. Maybe both teams afraid to play a bit, to open up too much. But Porto played their way and dived on the floor at every opportunity, and the Arsenal didn't do that. We were a bit naive to that. So, yeah, it went to penalties, and then it truly is a lottery, isn't it? It's a lottery. And we won the lottery that night because we had a goalkeeper that chose the right way twice and made some really good saves. But I hate rounds like that. I hate it when it's like that. I really do. I like to see it finished on the field of play because I don't like this penalty malarkey. I don't like it at all.
We then drew Bayern Munich. We'd not played them since we lost, what was it, 10-2 on aggregate?
17.
In 2017. We drew 2-2 at the Emirates, which ideally we'd like to have had the away team had our game second rather than first. So Bayern Munich got the luck of the draw. Drew 2-2, but it wasn't because of Bayern Munich were any good, Dale. Yeah, they're decent, but they weren't as good as we thought. Harry Kane got his penalty. It was written on the cards and everything else. But it came from 2 mistakes from Arsenal. And even when you look at the away fixture, we weren't bad. But again, the goal we conceded comes from mistakes. In theory, we were the better side over the 2 legs. You take yourself off mute, mate.
Oh, there we go. I've lost my flow now. I said, I remember saying the same thing at the time. Over the 2 legs, I thought we were the better team. The thing that got them through that is the experience. I mean, they are renowned for being a very tough European competitor, as we've found out over the years, as you mentioned a minute ago about 2017. Again, it's one of those things. I think we pick ourselves up and we learn from it. It was a bit more frustrating this time for me because it was Harry Kane again. And I just didn't want to see him go on and win the Champions League after eventually putting the Arsenal out. So I was glad that they lost in the last round. But yeah, I think again just a little bit of an experience there. But not just that. Let's give Bayern the credit where credit's due. They're a good side. They know how to get results. They know how to capitalise on those mistakes, which not everyone in the Premier League does. So if you want to play at the top table, you've got to be able to compete with the big boys at the top table.
Alex, you've done your away trip with the boys on that one as well. He got the tats out again, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, that was the day before the game. We all went out to a big beer hall and had our dinner there and had our beers. That was just when I arrived. I met with the guys for a beer, and that's on the day of the game. In the big beer hall there with the flag. There was loads of flags. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I haven't been on many European away games, but it's just, you meet new people every time. And it's just like going on vacation with a couple of friends, with a group of friends. And then you sometimes forget you've got a game on the evening as well, because you're just enjoying whatever city you're in and exploring and drinking beers and having fun. And like Laus just said in the comment, European aways is when friends become family. And I agree, Lau, because it felt like a big family down there in Munich when we was together down there, and we had a great time down there.
Trevor, I'm surprised you even got there because you were due to fly out in the morning from Stansted Airport. And could you imagine if those boys didn't have you turning up with your tats out and all those steins of beers? What happened?
Well, I was embarrassed at the time, but now it happens, doesn't it? I got to Stansted Airport, went to go through passport control, opened my passport, and there was Donna's wonderful picture looking at me. I picked up Donna's passport and took it with me, but she drove down to me and met me and with my passport, and I went down, got a bit of a later flight. I had to go down to Gatwick, but I got a bit of a later flight. Did the podcast from the departure lounge at Gatwick, and ended up getting to Munich quite late in the evening, and Dan dragged me straight into a nightclub, which was quite a welcome, but a few beers helped to take away the stress of the day. But do you know what, boys? You've been talking about the game, and before the game, right? Done? Done? Good. I'm going to take him off here in a minute. For people listening on audio, Dick 1, Dick 2, and Dick 3 are laughing.
What have I done here? I've done nothing wrong.
Ferg's really enjoying himself, isn't he?
Are you done now?
Yes.
Are you done? Are you sure? Are you sure? Right. Okay.
Are you sure to be sure?
Right, back to Ferg then.
Go on then, Trev, you were saying. Sorry.
No, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm done. I want this show over with.
Look, give us a hug.
It's an hour and 10 minutes. It's an hour and 10 minutes of my life I'm never going to get back putting up with you tonight, Fergus.
No, this is true. This is true. Listen, we got a new format for the Champions League next season. I suppose finish off on the Allianz. Alex, what did you make of the stadium? Dale, did you go out to Munich as well? You did, didn't you?
No, I didn't go out in the end. No,
Okay.
I had a kind offer, but yeah, I couldn't get off work, unfortunately.
Okay. Alex, what did you make of the Allianz Stadium? I think you'd been there a few years beforehand, but it was pouring down with rain, wasn't it?
It was when we walked. There's quite a walk from where you get off the train to the stadium. We had to walk like all the way around to the stadium, and it was raining a bit. But you could sort of look at the stadium as you walked around, and the side of the Allianz Arena is just, it's a beautiful stadium. It really is. But I've got bad memories from there because the last time, of course, we lost 5-1, and I think we all knew going into the game that it was going to be difficult. They've got a good atmosphere in there as well in Allianz. They had a big tifo, the fans, and they were loud. And yeah, I think it was just the experience from the Bayern players, the likes of Kimmich, who was the guy who scored the goal, that just made them go through. I think it was a very cagey, tight affair. It was quite a boring game, actually. But yeah, we just didn't make it through. Hopefully, I'm going there in a couple of weeks again to watch Denmark play in the Euros. So hopefully I'll watch my team win down there at the Allianz Arena in the third try.
I've been to the Olympic Park because my company's head office is not far from the Olympic Park, and the Allianz Stadium is nearby. And I was up in there's a revolving restaurant, and one of the directors was saying he was is it 1086 Munich? Is that what they're called, Trevor?
Munich 1886, isn't it?
1886, yeah, 1886. And the stadium, they share the stadium. Okay, they got a much smaller attendance, but it goes from blue to red for Bayern and white for the national team. So it's an amazing stadium. Trevor, do you want to finish off on anything you've got to add about Bayern Munich, but more to do with this new format? What are you thinking of this new format? We got an extra, not group game, but like league sort of game, and then the top 8 go through to the last 16, and the bottom 8
through.
Yeah, and the bottom 8 play off, and then it goes to a bit more normal.
I was absolutely gutted after the game in Munich because I think that over the 2 legs, we didn't need to play a lot better to win that tie and maybe win it comfortably, to be honest. The mistakes at home cost us so dearly. And we went to Munich and we played the game we had to play. I think we couldn't open up and play against Bayern Munich in their own ground. If we'd have tried to open up and play, we'd have been done. We'd have been hammered like we had been the last 2 visits there. So we played exactly the right game, and they got the break and we didn't. And it was that close. They got 1 break and we didn't. And that was the end of it. But it was a fantastic trip to Bayern Munich. It's a wonderful place to go visit Munich, especially if you like a beer and a bit of food, because it's full of great places to eat and drink. Next season, I'm just getting so upset with it now, so fed up with it that they change things, and they don't change it for the better of the players, because they're always moaning that the players are playing too many games anyway. So they're certainly not changing it and making them play more games because they're thinking of the players. They're not doing it because they're thinking of the fans, because the fans have got more expense to spend and get into an extra away game and an extra home game in the group stages. So the only reason they're doing it, there's only one reason they're doing it, and that's for money. Football revolves around money nowadays, and it's another opportunity to get money off us. And so they've put more games in the calendar. But don't you know, you can be sure that these European clubs will be saying halfway through next season, we're playing too much football. but I've not seen any of them stand up and make a stand against having to play more football. You know, they can't have it both ways. What is it, one way or the other? Like Tottenham and Newcastle got on a plane straight after their last games of the season and went and played a friendly in Australia. And then players are meant to be absolutely knackered, and so it was money again, you know. And I'm sad about it. I'm sad that money's just taking over absolutely everything now. And I don't mean that by players' wages. Players earn their wage because that's what the clubs will pay them. I'm talking about us fans. They're just looking to rinse us of every single penny they can. And that's the only reason that is changing next year, that's set up for the Champions League. But having said all that, I'm part of the problem because I'm going to go to them all. I'm going to spend my money and I'm going to go to the games, you know, when I should be saying on your bike. But I can't because I love my football club. And the powers that be know that we love our football clubs and that we'll do whatever it takes. We'll do whatever it takes. So, no, I've got the right ump about having to play more football next season, having to spend more money. But I'll be there. I'll be supporting my team.
Indeed. Guys, it was meant to be an hour, as usual, an hour and 15. 304 people watching across all platforms. We'd love if you went across to YouTube and clicked on Guns and Yellow Ribbons and click subscribe. We'd love your support. Click on subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when we go live. We will still always put it on Twitter as well because a lot of you like following us on there. Guys, 22 players were released today. El Neni and Cedric need recognition. Well, El Neni especially needs recognition. I do hope his song carries on and we just adapt it for somebody else, but it's a great song to have on the concourse. It's really good fun. But yeah, let's see what happens in the transfer window. We're going to have a couple of weeks. Go on.
No, I thought you were going to press the button, Ferg. Before you press the button, I want 10 seconds. You go finish what you were saying.
No, carry on. I can't remember now. You threw me.
Oh, good. Well, I've got to finish on a serious note, right? Exactly the note we started the program on. We've spoken about how great we are. What a great season we've had. How we've loved watching our team. But I can't get it out of my head that I just want my old mate Kevin Campbell to get better. So it's got to be said again. We said it at the start, we'll say it at the end. Keep fighting, Kevin Campbell. Get better, mate. Every fan I know, I've never met a fan that hasn't got time for Kevin Campbell. Everybody loves Kevin Campbell. And hopefully he'll be back on our screen soon. I absolutely adore the man. Love him.
Get well soon, Super Kev.
What makes Kevin even more special that he is one of us. He idolizes the football team. He is an Arsenal fan, but he's also idolized by Everton fans because keeping them up and everything else. Guys, listen, yeah, we will have him in our prayers or whatever it is you believe in. Just think of him. I'm going to press the button.
Press the button.
Trevor, as you know, our last podcast has been blocked by those beasts, the copyright people on YouTube. So it will come back up in time. I'll put an appeal through. But if we play any longer segments of that song, we keep on getting copyrighted and getting blocked. And it's just dreadful. But you know what I'm going to do, Trev? Just to annoy those.
Don't play.
They can try and silence us, Trev, but like that's us. They can't copyright us because me and you are in that crowd.
Absolutely. It's just worth saying, Ferg, that we've got a couple of ideas for a couple of summer specials, haven't we? Whether they're going to come off or not, we don't know, but they're in the planning stage. But, mate, I'm taking a couple of weeks off now to put my feet up and sulk about there being no football, to be honest. It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible.
76 days to go. 75?
I mean, England are playing tonight. I've not even looked at it. I'm not interested. Not interested.
Are you going to watch the Euros?
No. Oh, well, I'll watch it if I catch it, but I won't go out of my way or change my plans to watch it, Alex. No. And that's terrible because I used to love my England football, and I don't know why I don't now, to be honest. I don't know what's changed me. I just want to watch my Arsenal play, and that's it. And that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Bring on next season.
Listen,
and by the way, Ferg, everyone's saying, and it popped up on our social media this week, that the fixtures are announced like some date in June. To be honest with you, they're not, are they? The Premier League will announce a set of fixtures and then the TV will change them all anyway. So don't worry about it. I've got a funny feeling we're going to be Friday night opening the season again, like we
That's 2 years.
Like we have the last 2 seasons. Yeah,
3 out of 4 years, I think.
It's the 14th of June, which is the same night as the Euros start. It will be that day that the fixtures get announced. And to be honest, all it announced, and as you say, is it's the order of play. It's not necessarily the dates of fixtures. For myself, with the Euros, I will be watching the Euros. I'll keep an eye over them. I don't have a horse in the race. I will be supporting England, but I can't get excited about it. To be honest, I don't even get huge.
Who says we want you? Hey? Who says we want you, Fergus?
You've been watching Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans.
Oh, my Lord.
Boys, thank you. Thank you, Dal. Thank you, Alex. Get back to nabbing those criminals. I'm sure I'll speak to you in the next 15, 20 minutes, Trev. I'm sure you'll ring me.
Season's over. It's done.
Yeah.
Last podcast done. I'm gutted.
Yeah.
Adios, amigos.
I'm doing a salute because that's Kev's saluting to the squaddies and Highbury squad. Been in touch with Sophie. She's really struggling. It's very difficult for her at the moment. She's had a tough all year. So our hearts go out to her and all anybody who's feeling as they are about Kevin. Up the Arsenal. Love you, Kev.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.